I can only predict what is going to happen to Nigeria is what happened to Sri Lanka just a few weeks ago. When the masses got tired, they stormed out to the street, stormed into the presidential palace. The president or prime minister took 2 soldiers, got on a private jet, and flew out to the Maldives, right? So anarchy is about to happen if Nigeria does not arrest the situation right now. This matter is one of life and death for Nigeria and Nigerians, and so we have really got to figure it out. It's a crazy situation and it's unprecedented. You know, we've never had it this bad. So Nigeria is essentially broke, right? And so this morning, the budget office told the government to stop indiscriminate borrowing, right? That should be the thing for anybody, right?
Yeah.
This administration have been callous, careless, and reckless, right, with their borrowings and with a whole lot of other stuff. Now, I said this a couple of times when I interacted with you on economic matters. Borrowing is not a crime. Borrowing is not a bad thing. But the question is, what are you borrowing for? And the monies borrowed, what are you doing with them? When you borrow to feed, whether you're a family or you're a business or you're a nation, you borrow for consumption, then that's recipe for destruction. And so with that as our situation, it's a bleak situation, it's a terrible situation, but it's not totally lost, right? There are solutions, but it's high time our leaders begin to listen to us. We've talked about these situations over time, we've given solutions, and nobody paid attention. Now, it's a sad thing that we've come to this point. But Yagazie, I'll shock you. I'm a little bit excited that this is happening.
Why?
I'm sad on the one hand, but on the other hand, I'm happy that it's happening, because just 1% of Nigerian politicians have been the ones, reaping the benefits of Nigeria's wealth. The senators, the governors, the ministers, people high up in public service have been the one enjoying the wealth of Nigeria, either by fraudulently cutting our wealth, our common wealth away, or doing some dirty deals. So what you're going to find, if Nigeria goes broke, then there is no way it can sustain the payment of senators and the governors and all the high pension packages for the governors. We just can't afford it anymore. And so if you don't have the money, how are you going to pay them? So what that means is that politics will become less lucrative and attractive for people who want to go in there to steal money. And when that happens, Nigeria is going to go into a reset mode, right? And so what that means is that people are going to begin to look away from politics, and only those who really want to work will begin to go into politics, right? And the people who will begin to call the shot in Nigeria will be the people who have skills to earn Nigeria Forex, who have skills and ability to make vital investments in Nigeria and earn a lot of money. These will be the people who would actually begin to call the shots in Nigeria. So essentially, Nigeria will reset to a pure capitalist economy, right? Where the business people, control the economy. And so that makes me glad, right? But like I said, the situation is not totally lost. There is a way out. Tough. It's going to be
really tough
for
honestly.
many Nigerians. For the civil servant who earns 30,000 naira a month, it's going to be tough for them. The next 1 year, it's the same thing. Last year, I'm going to tell you about my predictions that I made, the one I made in 2007 and the one I made in November, December last year. They've all come to pass. And now I'm going to make another prediction. I am not a prophet of doom, but if you know how to look at economic indices and interpret them, you can almost tell what's going to happen in a country's economic future, right? So I'm going to make another prediction that 2023 is going to be a tough year, right? But if we play our cards right, we will come out from this perhaps by the end of next year, going into 2024. Nigeria will begin to recover fully if we actually begin to implement all the right economic principles, because right now we're playing games, right? So what I'm trying to say in essence is that basically our politicians got us here. Bad economic policies got us here. So, but I want you Nigerians who are listening to us today to tighten your seatbelts, right? If you're a student, what you should do right now is to begin to acquire skills that you can export. Okay?
To earn foreign exchange. Probably.
That's right.
Wow.
Every Nigerian now who is of the learning age should go and acquire a skill that you can export. When you do that, you will improve your family economy, which will also help save Nigeria. Right now, for any economy to do well, and companies have to do well. When companies do well, they employ labor, right? But for companies to do well, the workers of every nation have to earn enough salary. And for the last 10-15 years, Nigerian income have been dwindling. How has it been dwindling? 30,000 3 years ago was much more valuable than 30,000 today, and Nigerians are still earning 30,000 with the high rate of inflation. So what that means is that the Nigerians don't have purchasing power anymore. If the citizens earn enough salary and they're spending, then that means that their spending will grow businesses. And as businesses grow, they help stabilize the economy. By paying taxes to the government gains IGR, right? And if these companies are exporting companies, they also export commodities made in Nigeria and they earn us forex, right? But on the part of Nigeria, our workers are not earning enough salaries. And so a lot of commodities are quickly entering into what I call the luxury list. For example, gas. When I wrote a letter, I'm going to talk to you about all of this. When I wrote a letter to an institute last year, I talked about a lot of products going to enter into the luxury list. Gas, for example, has entered into the luxury list. But many middle-class families cannot afford to buy a cylinder of gas anymore. Yeah, so that means it has entered into the luxury list. So what do you think is going to happen to all the companies that cater to the production of gas cylinders and the gas product itself? These companies are going to begin to lose money, and eventually they're going to get out of business. And once they get out of business, they're going to lay off labor. And so that is what actually brings the death of the economy. So I recommend that if you're a young person and you are within the age that you're able to learn, go and acquire a skill, a digital skill right now, a video editing skill, data analysis skill, social digital marketing skills. Go and acquire the skills that you can actually live in Nigeria and live above the Nigerian economy and export, right? That's on the part of people who can learn. Then on the other hand, those who are not able to acquire skills right now, you just have to, start producing something. Go into farming, because really, people have to eat. And so no matter how bad the economy is, only those who are producing food will constantly sell. Right. So no matter how much you sell the food, people are still going to buy. So go and acquire some of this skill.
Try to touch on how we got here,
yes.
Which is a very critical thing, because this morning during Primetime Press, I read on the Sun newspaper that Budget asked the federal government to discontinue indiscriminate borrowing. Yes. First of all, we have to understand how we got here. If we continue in the same direction, there is no guarantee that we are getting out of this kind of quagmire anytime soon. So yes. Budget asking the federal government to discontinue borrowing is something that the federal government should tell themselves. But on how we got here also, I want you to touch on did the people push the government to get here? Because we know that many times in the past, the government has tried to remove subsidy and tried to use that money for something else, the money being paid for subsidy. And we know that the people have always reacted to the removal of the subsidy, which has made the government continue to pay this money that literally is also, the money could have been used for better things, or at least maybe the money that the country would have been borrowing would have been a lot more reduced. So how did we get here? What are the habits that have to change for the nation and its people?
Yeah, good question. How we got here does not have anything to do with subsidy. So before I answer the question of how we got here, let me address the issue of subsidy, right? The subsidy policy is an illiterate policy from government officials who don't understand economics. Right? It's a situation of the hen and the egg, which comes first, or the cat and the horse, which comes first, right? Now, the issue of subsidies should not have arisen if we had literate government officials who understand economics, right? The only reason you're paying subsidy is that you're spending a whole lot shipping our crude overseas and processing it and then shipping it back. It's costing you a lot. And so to make sure Nigerians do not suffer a lot paying those costs, you're now subsidizing the cost of petroleum. When the simple thing you should have done was make sure that Nigeria has up to 5 refineries working. If we had 5 refineries working in Nigeria, what that would simply do for us is crash the price of premium motor spirit, diesel, and every other product that comes, byproduct that comes from crude oil. So when they say we need to stop paying subsidy, is destroying the Nigerian economy, it's crazy. They think we're fools. You don't need to. We're not asking you to pay for subsidy. All you need to do is fix our refineries. Once the refinery starts working, what you're going to cut off is the cost of shipment overseas. That freight, that transportation cost, you cut it off. That transportation cost of bringing it back, you cut it off, which runs in the billions. Now, the cost that you pay to the refining company overseas, you cut it off. Whatever you pay for clearing the commodities at the processing port, you cut it off. So these are expenses that you cut off when you produce locally. And so what is going to happen is that the price of petroleum, for example, will drop to about 30 naira a liter or less. You go to Germany, German cars are cheaper than American cars sold in Germany. Why? Because German cars are manufactured locally in Germany, right? So you're not paying the cost of shipment of those vehicles from America to Germany. So it's the same thing. When you manufacture locally, you cut off the cost of freight and port costs. And so the price of the commodity comes down. So when government talks about subsidy, it tells me that they're really ignorant, right? That's number one. Now let's address how we got here. Every Nigerian up to the age of 30 today is guilty of bringing us here.
Wow.
But I'll start with the government. Yes, I'm telling you,
Okay.
I'll start with the government. I start with the government because of bad policies. Now, when Nigeria discovered oil in, I don't remember the date now, but somewhere around, 60s, 70s, right? Nigeria focused its attention on oil, and they said Nigeria has an oil boom, right? And so Nigerian politicians started spending oil money. It made them lazy. I remember one time I told you that it's out of laziness and you wondered how. Now, oil made our politicians lazy. So we discontinued the agricultural project, the functional agricultural projects we had. For example, in the southeast, the ones at De Sambakwe and a whole lot of other politicians had, we discontinued them because oil was giving us constant money, right? But they had to have known that it was going to end someday, right? So that's that. They discontinued the agricultural, the yielding agricultural projects we had, with which you would build many institutions. And the University of Nigeria in Nsukka was built from proceeds from agriculture. Some of the net building, what that was once the tallest building in Nigeria, was built from proceeds from agriculture. And many infrastructural projects were done in Nigeria with proceeds from agriculture. But we discontinued that because now we have oil. And so our food production went down. Now, if you take an audit of all the natural resources that Nigeria has, think about it, tin ore, precious minerals, precious stones, precious metals, gold, iron ore, name it. Just name it. They're uncountable minerals that Nigeria has. And then we have left them unexplored because we have money from oil. They had to have known that this oil was going to, end, oil revenue was going to end someday, right? And so that is why Nigeria depended on crude oil. And so because we put all our eggs in this one basket of crude oil, when the crude oil prices started crashing in 2007, Nigerian economy began to die. Now, in 2007, I predicted, during the economic crunch that happened all over the world, I predicted that a day is coming because during that time, Obama was still the president. So Obama quickly came up with a policy of driving green cars. And so Obama started sponsoring companies who would go into production of vehicles that would not need petroleum products to run. I saw the red signs then and I got afraid. And so I started preaching the message of diversifying the Nigerian economy, because there's going to certainly come a day when green cars are going to be proliferated. And what it would do is that most countries in the world would not need crude oil anymore, which makes us important right now in the Committee of Nations. I didn't know it was going to come in the form that it came.
It might take long.
Yes, I thought it was going to take longer because I knew it was going to take long to bring the technology, the green car technology, rechargeable systems, to mass produce it. But I didn't know that what was going to happen was going to come in a different way. So look at it now. Since 2007, America has bought less of our oil. I don't think they bought oil from us since 2007. The UK is not buying from us anymore. Many countries that used to buy from us are not buying from us anymore. So that is why the Nigerian economy is dying. Because this mono product that gives us all the money we've we've spent all these years, it's not yielding anymore because these countries that used to be our customers are looking elsewhere. So if we were a wise people, if we had a wise government, what we should have done was diversify the economy, go into other sectors, give out licenses to the private sector to explore our precious stones, our precious minerals, to explore our bitumen, to explore everything explorable, our gold, and begin to actually export this. But no, we didn't do it. And so now our cocks, how'd you say it, our hens are coming home to roost, and Nigeria is in trouble. So Nigerian government, number one, is guilty for not diversifying the economy. 2, for making wrong economic policies. And 3, for the corruption that has eaten Nigeria so deep. Okay? Now, let me tell you the other reason Nigeria is in this trouble right now is because of 2023. And so corrupt politicians have bought up all the dollars and hard currencies ready to bribe, people come 2023. Now look at all the dollars that were used for bribes just a couple of months ago. What that did was it drove away the liquidity of forex in the Nigerian economy. And so currently Nigeria is a consumerist nation. And so a lot of companies that are importing are employing a lot of labor. So because these politicians now hoarded the dollars to use them for bribes, there's no dollar or euro in circulation for the importers to do their business and actually continue to pay taxes to government. So that's affecting our economy daily, right? So on the part of government, these are the issues. Corruption is also eating us deep. But why did I say that every Nigerian up to the age of 30 is guilty? The banks are also guilty. Now, the banks have a policy of financing import as against financing export. That is like shooting yourself on the foot. Because when you finance imports, what you're doing is that Nigeria makes about $42 billion, from export annually. So when this $42 billion comes into the Nigerian economy, this money is supposed to serve as a buffer for the Nigerian economy and make it strong. What does the banker do? The bank takes the same money and gives it to the importer, who takes the same dollar that should have buffered the Nigerian economy and shifts it right back overseas. And so our naira has no value. Because currencies get their values from either the gold bar or from other foreign currencies that are stronger than it. Okay. So the strength of the Nigerian economy is tagged to the dollar. So that dollar that it should give the central bank ability, if we have more dollar than in circulation, that means Nigeria is making a lot of money through export. We have a lot of dollars. That means it strengthens the naira. And so the central bank can afford to print some more notes. I need to explain this to you.
A little bit more, please.
Yeah. Now, let me explain this to you. Now, when you have a family of 7 and your income is 100,000, right? And this is 2022. And then come 2024, your family population increases from 7 to 15 and your income is still 100,000. Can you see that the number of mouths that the 100,000 feeds increases? So what that means is that 100,000 will not be enough to cater to 15 people as against when it catered to 7 people. Yeah. That's exactly what's happening to Nigeria right now. Every day people are born, children are born. So more people are coming into the Nigerian economy. Every year graduates come out and take up jobs. Right? And so if Nigeria was making $15 billion $50 billion annually, for example, and that is used to cater to 1 million Nigerians, right? And at the end of a fiscal year, you have 5 million graduates coming out of universities. They enter into the job market. So what does that do for us? The population rises to 6 million, right? And yet our income is stagnant. And that same income is supposed to cater to everybody that works, including the new employees. You see that money will never, go around. So what you need to do to cater to situations like that is make sure that the country is earning enough dollars or euros by simply exporting. But because our government is not paying attention to export, we're not earning enough. Our income is pretty much stagnant, right? And so population is growing, we're giving birth to more children, more people are entering into the labor market, and the stagnant economy we have is not enough to cater to them. So a wise government should have placed emphasis on export and then employed many Nigerians into the export business.